It was a humid September morning in Florida, the kind of day when the sun already pressed down hard at 7 a.m., and the air smelled faintly of river mud and blooming wildflowers. September 15th, 2020, began like any other for Carlos Rivera, a 39-year-old diver working with the Florida Water Management Team. He had been assigned to examine the depths of the Lake Okeechobee Reservoir as part of a security and cleanup operation. But that morning, as his diving gear hit the water and his flashlight cut through the murky brown depths, he noticed something unusual, something metallic and unnatural lying just beneath a layer of silt. With a growing sense of unease, Carlos maneuvered closer, brushing away mud and algae with gloved hands. There beneath 20 years of sediment lay a white Toyota Camry, its body rusted but intact, the license plate just barely legible. Florida KJH 5893. Carlos felt his pulse quicken as he caught sight of the glove compartment. Inside, a faded but readable Sunshine Elementary School teacher card peeked out. The words were almost 20 years old, yet the laminated card had survived the murky depths remarkably well. Carlos swallowed hard and radioed in to his supervisor, his voice trembling slightly. "We've found a vehicle. Someone's card is still inside. It looks really old." Within hours, the lake had transformed from a quiet reservoir into a crime scene. Florida police, forensic specialists, and investigative divers arrived, cautiously lifting the Camry from the water. Inside, they found more than the card. On the back seat lay a school T-shirt, soaked and preserved by the lake water, along with fiber traces that hinted at materials found only on Sunshine Elementary School buses. Detective James Harlow, a veteran investigator with 20 years of experience in cold cases, was called in to take charge. He carefully examined every inch of the Camry, photographing the vehicle, taking fiber samples, and bagging every scrap of evidence. The school T-shirt fibers, the microscopic fragments embedded in the seats, and traces on the steering wheel and door handle were sent for analysis. By the time the state laboratory processed the evidence, the result left Harlow momentarily speechless. The fibers matched the bus driven by James Peterson, a man who had been working for Sunshine Elementary School for 26 years and had been one of the most trusted employees at the school. DNA evidence on the steering wheel, the seats, and door handles confirmed what the fibers suggested. This was the man whose actions had haunted the Wilson family for 2 decades. James Peterson, now 78 years old, had lived a quiet, seemingly unremarkable life after retiring in 2010. To neighbors, he was polite, distant, the kind of man who rarely left his house and never caused a stir. To colleagues, he was dependable, professional, and trustworthy. No one suspected the darkness he had carried hidden inside him for 20 long years. Peterson had been a constant presence at Sunshine Elementary School during Amanda Wilson's final days. He had been there during school trips, supervised buses, and even participated in search efforts after Amanda disappeared on March 15, 2000. He had told authorities that she may have moved away, started a new life, or simply vanished. He had cried alongside the Wilson family, insisting, "Amanda was one of my favorite teachers. I miss her." No one had questioned him until now. Amanda Grace Wilson had been born on June 12, 1978, at Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami. Her mother, Linda, was a 26-year-old nurse, and her father, Robert, a customs officer at the Port of Miami. From the very beginning, Amanda's parents recognized a spark in her, a love for learning that set her apart. Their Coral Springs home, a one-story house shaded by palm trees, was filled with books, homework, and encouragement. From the age of 4, Linda nurtured Amanda's reading and writing skills, watching her daughter's eyes sparkle as she traced letters and asked endless questions. By 8, Amanda had already begun winning state-level competitions in writing, and by 10, she was volunteering as a teaching assistant at her school club. She helped other children learn to read and write, showing the patience and passion that would define her career. By the time Amanda reached 16, she had earned early admission to Florida State University, enrolling in the education department. She excelled there, admired by professors and peers alike, and spent weekends volunteering for the Coral Springs Volunteer Reading Program. At 22, freshly graduated, she joined Sunshine Elementary School as a second-grade teacher. Her classroom quickly became a haven of color, books, and creativity. Amanda taught her students not just to read and write, but to imagine, to dream, to believe in themselves. Parents adored her, colleagues admired her, and children loved her, flocking to story time every Friday to sit cross-legged on her classroom carpet as she wove magical tales of princesses, heroes, and worlds unseen. Yet lurking silently in this world of innocence and learning was James Peterson. The quiet, thin school bus driver had been watching Amanda for years. Tall and unassuming, Peterson maintained a calm exterior, respected by parents and colleagues alike. But his eyes told a different story. They followed Amanda in the mornings when she helped children onto the bus, in the afternoons when she waved goodbye, and even during school events. The stares were long, unsettling, and obsessive. Yet Amanda, polite and professional, had never spoken about them, dismissing them as simply the behavior of an older man. The day of the spring picnic on March 15, 2000, began like any other. Sunshine Elementary organized the annual event at a park near Lake Okeechobee. Teachers and students boarded buses in the early morning, and Amanda led her class of 25 children onto the bus, chatting, helping, singing songs to keep them entertained on the 30-kilometer drive. James Peterson was at the wheel, watching her from the rearview mirror. There was nothing to arouse suspicion, just another school trip, routine, orderly, safe. The day at the park unfolded with laughter, games, and sunshine. Amanda watched over her students, making sure everyone ate, hydrated, and stayed safe. Children ran, played, and enjoyed the freedom of open grass and cool breezes, while Amanda took photographs and helped with every little task. When the announcement came to return to the buses at 2:30 p.m., Amanda performed her usual careful checks, counting the children and ensuring no one was left behind. Everything appeared normal until she realized one child, Tommy, had briefly wandered off to the restroom. Amanda escorted him back, and together they boarded the bus, closing the chapter on what would become her final day. By 3:42 p.m., the bus was back on the highway. Amanda, exhausted yet content, ensured that all her students were safe and settled. But James Peterson's intentions were far from innocent. He slowed the bus, signaling a turn onto a narrower, isolated road. Amanda questioned him, her unease growing with each passing minute. The shortcut led them deeper into dense palms and swamp, far from the familiar main road. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong, but she was trapped by circumstance and politeness. When Peterson finally stopped the bus, Amanda stepped out as instructed, only to find herself alone in a quiet, foreboding area of the swamp. Her protests were met with silence, and then the attack came. Peterson's hands gripped her, his strength overpowering her desperate struggles. Inside the bus, children watched helplessly through the windows, crying, terrified. When he returned them to the school, he lied with practiced calm, offering excuses and fabricated stories, ensuring that Amanda's absence would seem unremarkable to authorities, parents, and school staff. The panic, confusion, and fear that ensued were a blur of search operations, media coverage, and unanswered questions. By the next day, March 16, 2000, Amanda's photo appeared on television screens across Florida. Volunteers, police teams, and search and rescue units combed the area surrounding Lake Okeechobee. Every square inch was scrutinized, yet nothing was found. Detective Maria Rodriguez questioned Peterson, who maintained his false story. Amanda had chosen to leave on her own, perhaps to take care of personal matters. Her phone battery had died. She would return. His calm demeanor and reputation kept suspicion at bay. Weeks turned into months, months into years, and Amanda's case went cold. Her parents, Linda and Robert Wilson, suffered profoundly. Linda collapsed under the weight of grief, eventually leaving her job and focusing solely on her daughter's absence. Robert tried to maintain normalcy but found himself haunted by memories of Amanda's laughter and voice. By 2003, The strain had torn their marriage apart, leaving both parents fractured and desolate. Amanda's absence became a shadow over every day, a wound that never healed. Linda passed away in 2019, her final words a plea: "Find Amanda, please find her." The world seemed to have forgotten, but hope lingered in small, silent ways. 20 years passed, and the white Toyota Camry lay at the bottom of the reservoir, undisturbed, holding the secrets of that fateful day. Until Carlos Rivera's discovery on September 15, 2020, the truth slept quietly beneath layers of silt and water, waiting for justice to awaken it. The fibers, the DNA, the vehicle, all pointed unerringly toward James Peterson. The man who had hidden his crime behind years of trust and civility could no longer escape the past. The discovery of Amanda Wilson's car sent shockwaves through Florida. Detective James Harlow coordinated a full forensic operation, examining the Toyota Camry with painstaking care. Every inch of the interior was photographed, bagged, and cataloged. The school T-shirt in the back seat, though waterlogged and faded, was preserved for analysis. Fibers embedded in the seats and steering wheel were sent to the Florida Forensic Fiber Analysis Database, which confirmed what Harlow already feared. Fibers from Sunshine Elementary School buses, combined with DNA samples taken from the steering wheel, back seat, and door handle, all pointed to James Peterson. It was as though the car itself was a time capsule of Peterson's crime, waiting for justice to awaken it. By late September, the police had amassed enough evidence to confront Peterson. At 7 a.m. on October 8, 2020, Detective Harlow, flanked by 6 officers, arrived at 4721 Palm Avenue. Peterson, now 78, opened the door calmly, as if he had been expecting this day for decades. There was no panic, no surprise, only a faint, hollow acceptance. "James Peterson, you are under arrest in connection with the murder of Amanda Wilson," Harlow said, his voice steady but charged with years of frustration. Peterson bowed his head, his shoulders slumping. "I knew," he whispered, almost to himself. "I knew you would come one day." In interrogation, Peterson recounted the events of March 15, 2000 with chilling clarity. He described how he had slowed the bus, led Amanda off under the guise of checking a tire, and forced her into the swamp. He admitted to the attack, to the strangulation, and to disposing of her car in the reservoir that very night. Harlow listened quietly, letting the confession unfold. When asked why, Peterson closed his eyes, shaking. "I don't know," he said finally. "I've asked myself that for 20 years. I felt something for her, something I couldn't control. That day on that road, something inside me broke. I couldn't have her, so no one could." The coldness of the admission contrasted sharply with the warmth and life Amanda had brought to her classroom. As the investigation unfolded, authorities pieced together the events surrounding that tragic day. Witnesses were interviewed, archival footage examined, and the accounts of the children who had been on the bus reconstructed. The images were heart-wrenching: 25 small faces pressed against the windows, wide-eyed with fear, witnessing their beloved teacher being taken from them, unable to intervene. The emotional toll on these now-adult students was immense. Many described nightmares and lingering anxiety, the memory of the day etched into their minds like an indelible scar. The evidence collected from the Camry was irrefutable. Handwriting, fibers, DNA, every detail corroborated Peterson's confession. Florida state police officials presented the case to the state attorney, who decided to move forward immediately. The charges were severe: first-degree murder, premeditated and deliberate, with life imprisonment and no possibility of parole. For the Wilson family, now reduced to Robert alone after Linda's passing, the arrest was both a relief and a painful reopening of old wounds. The years of grief, uncertainty, and silence had finally led to accountability, but the cost was irreparable. News of Peterson's arrest spread rapidly. National and local media covered the story extensively, highlighting the extraordinary patience and persistence of the investigative teams, the decades-long cold case, and the tragedy of a young teacher's life cut short. Former colleagues and students offered statements, remembering Amanda for her warmth, her dedication, and her unwavering passion for teaching. They spoke of storytime circles, imaginative lessons, and a classroom where children's potential was nurtured with gentle care. Their recollections painted a portrait of Amanda as a beacon of hope, a sharp contrast to the darkness of Peterson's actions. By early 2021, the trial commenced. Courtrooms were filled with tension and emotion. Robert Wilson sat in the front row, clutching a photograph of Linda, his expression a mixture of grief, determination, and relief. Peterson, now fully exposed, pleaded guilty. The trial itself was brief, only 2 hours for the jury to deliberate. When the verdict was read, the courtroom was heavy with silence. First-degree murder, life imprisonment without parole. Justice, though delayed by 20 years, had finally arrived. The judge addressed Peterson directly, his voice firm and unwavering. She trusted you. Her family trusted you. Children trusted you. And you used that trust to take her life. You will spend the rest of your days behind bars, removed from society and removed from the lives you destroyed. Amanda's burial took place on March 18, 2021, at Miami Memorial Cemetery. Hundreds of people attended, from former students to teacher colleagues, to families who had been touched by her dedication and kindness. She was laid to rest next to her mother, Linda. The gravestone bore a simple yet profound inscription. Amanda Grace Wilson, 1978-2000, taught children to read, reading books in the sky. White roses were laid gently upon the grave by Robert Wilson, his voice breaking as he whispered, "I miss you, baby girl. Every day I miss you." Across the city, Sunshine Elementary School established a library in her honor, the Amanda Wilson Memorial Library, a place where hundreds of books lined the shelves, a living tribute to the life and lessons she had shared. Even after the trial and burial, the story remained a stark reminder of trust and vulnerability. Amanda had dedicated herself to guiding children, shaping their dreams and nurturing potential. Peterson had exploited that trust, turning what should have been a safe and joyful environment into a scene of unspeakable horror. The lessons lingered long after the trial concluded: the importance of vigilance, the need to question appearances, and the enduring power of memory. Students and colleagues carried Amanda's legacy forward, teaching new generations, remembering her dedication, and honoring her name. The Florida Water Management Team continued their work at Lake Okeechobee, often pausing at the spot where the Camry had rested for 20 years. Divers recalled the moment Carlos Rivera's flashlight had caught the outline of the car, a discovery that had reopened decades of pain and ultimately brought a measure of closure to a grieving family. Detective Harlow often visited the site, reflecting on the patience, persistence, and meticulous work that had solved the cold case. Every detail mattered: the fibers, the DNA, the small signs that pointed to a single person. It was a testament to the fact that truth, no matter how long delayed, could not remain submerged forever. By the end, the community had absorbed the weight of the tragedy and the relief of justice. Amanda's students went on to become teachers, writers, and community leaders, carrying her influence forward. Sunshine Elementary's halls echoed with her memory, the library standing as a permanent reminder of her dedication and spirit. And for Robert Wilson, there was a fragile peace, a sense that Amanda's story had finally been told, that her life had been honored, and that the man responsible had been held accountable. The case of Amanda Grace Wilson remained etched in Florida's history, not just as a tale of loss and tragedy, but as a story of perseverance, forensic precision, and the triumph of justice over decades of silence. Her legacy lived on, in classrooms, in hearts, and in every child who learned to read because she had once believed in them. The final months of 2020 were intense for law enforcement and for the memory of Amanda Wilson. James Peterson remained in custody at the Broward County Detention Center, awaiting his trial. His confession, combined with decades-old forensic evidence, left little room for doubt. Detective James Harlow and his team continued reviewing every detail. The fiber matches, the DNA results, witness statements, and the reconstructed timeline of March 15, 2000. The meticulous work ensured there would be no loopholes for Peterson to exploit. On January 12, 2021, the courtroom in Fort Lauderdale was packed. Family, friends, former colleagues, and former students of Amanda Wilson had all gathered. Robert Wilson, Amanda's father, sat in the front row, holding the photograph of his late wife, Linda. The weight of 20 years of uncertainty pressed heavily on him, but he carried himself with quiet determination. Outside the courthouse, reporters and news crews documented every moment, recognizing the magnitude of a cold case finally resolved after 2 decades. The trial was swift. Evidence was presented clearly. Fibers linking Peterson to the car, DNA samples confirming his presence, and his own chilling confession detailing the events of that fateful day. Amanda's students, now adults, were called to testify, recounting their memories of the bus ride, the sudden fear, and the missing teacher. Their voices, filled with emotion and lingering pain, brought the courtroom to a solemn silence. When the jury deliberated, it took just 2 hours for them to return. First-degree murder, life imprisonment without parole. The verdict was decisive. The judge, addressing Peterson directly, spoke with unwavering authority. James Peterson, you violated the trust of your community, the trust of your students, and the trust of Amanda Wilson. She dedicated her life to teaching, to nurturing, to guiding. You took that life, and for that, you will never leave these walls. Let this be a reminder. Trust, once broken, cannot be restored, and justice, though delayed, will always prevail. Peterson was escorted quietly from the courtroom, his face unreadable, a lifetime of secrecy finally exposed. Amanda Wilson's funeral was held on March 18, 2021, at Miami Memorial Cemetery. Hundreds of mourners attended, from former students to teacher colleagues to community members who had been touched by her dedication. Robert Wilson stood by her grave, placing white roses on the polished stone. Tears ran silently down his face. "I miss you, baby girl," he whispered. "Every day I miss you." The gravestone read simply yet poignantly, Amanda Grace Wilson, 1978–2000, taught children to read, reading books in the sky. Beside her mother, Amanda was finally at peace, a life once stolen restored in memory. Sunshine Elementary School established the Amanda Wilson Memorial Library, a lasting tribute to her legacy. Hundreds of books filled its shelves, offering children a place to explore, dream, and learn, just as Amanda had always envisioned. Teachers incorporated her teaching methods, storytime circles, and love for literature into their classrooms. Amanda's spirit, though physically absent, remained alive in every child who opened a book in her memory. The Florida Water Management Team continued to work near Lake Okeechobee, often pausing to remember the day Carlos Rivera discovered Amanda's car. Divers recalled the rusted white Camry lying beneath decades of sediment, a silent witness to a crime that had been hidden in plain sight. Detective Harlow often revisited the site, reflecting on the dedication required to solve a case that had remained cold for 20 years. Every fiber, every DNA sample, every painstaking reconstruction had mattered. Justice, though delayed, had not been denied. In the years that followed, Amanda's former students grew up, inspired by her teaching, dedicating their lives to education, literature, and community service. Sunshine Elementary's halls echoed with stories of Amanda Wilson, the teacher who had believed in every child, who had nurtured dreams, and who had left an enduring impact on the community. Her life, though tragically cut short, became a beacon of hope and a lesson in perseverance. The story of Amanda Grace Wilson was remembered not only as a tale of loss, but also as a testament to patience, investigative persistence, and the triumph of justice over decades of silence. Trust, though fragile, had ultimately been vindicated. Amanda's legacy endured in classrooms, in hearts, and in every young reader whose imagination was sparked by the lessons she had once shared. And as the sun set over Lake Okeechobee, the waters where her car had rested for 20 years reflected the sky, a quiet reminder that even the deepest shadows cannot conceal the truth forever. Amanda Grace Wilson's story, her life, and her dedication to children remained immortal, a life remembered, a voice never silenced, and justice finally served.